beginning to look a lot like Christmas.
Oh, let's review.
We'll analyze the scene.
Sounds holly jolly to me.
Before it's over, let's begin.
Bum.
Bum.
That's right, everyone. Season's greetings. Tiki here.
And BlueDragonFIve.
And welcome to another installment of Seasonal Shenanigans. Shenanigans.
Shenanigans.
Shenanigans. So, Dragon, we are introducing a new category for you all for this year, a special category, because, ironically enough, we're not talking about the flagship movie in this genre, which is Die Hard. Maybe next year, but we're talking about movies where I can't believe it's Christmas, Dragon. I can't believe this is a Christmas movie. Can you believe that Lethal Weapon is a Christmas movie, Dragon?
I can because I've seen it, but had I not seen it, I wouldn't believe you.
You know what else I can't believe, Dragon?
What?
How long it's been since I've plugged the Movie Machine podcast! That's right, folks. It's been slipping my mind. We haven't really been talking about movies all that much. But since we're talking about a classic buddy cop movie that kind of mixes genres, let's talk about a podcast that matches genres all the time. Movie Machine Podcast is what happens when you take four funny people and improv a movie based on a random story generator really, really fast, featuring our friends at Hot Chocolate Media. This week they uploaded Episode 40, Home of the Brave, a 1940s surf romance, starring Nicholas Hoult, Josh Brolin, Amy Adams, and Dave Franco. Got the usual lineup of Ben Lifson, Kyle Decker, and Jacob Culver. And then you've also got a special guest, Andrea Wilkins. It's madness, it's craziness. You can find it at hotchocolatemedia.net. Yeah. I'm sorry, Dre. It's just, It's been a while. It's been a while since I've given love. So, shout out. Anyways. All right, Dragon. So, let's get into it. I can't believe it's Christmas. Lethal Weapon. Very excited to talk about this genre in general. So, Dragon, you and I guess I'll tell my Lethal Weapon story. So, I woke up this morning. I watched it. I went to work. I came back home. I watched most of it again just to get a good sense of it. And here we are.
I think you're kind of missing something in that story. You want to try it again? Something a little.
Well, basically, what I'm trying to say in so many words is I have not seen Lethal Weapon until today. So that is my entire story of how I've seen Lethal Weapon. It's like I watched it once, went to work, watched it again. Here we are now. Dragon, of course, we'll talk about Shane Black later, but suffice to say, Lethal Weapon, it's one of those weird things where I didn't even really know it was a comedy until much later on. I always assumed it was some kind of weird hard-boiled action movie, because it sounds like a very hard-boiled movie. And I don't know, Dragon, I'm still not an action guy, I'm in terms of just like James Bondian type of stuff. I'll like certain movies in that genre. I'll like certain movies. I'm not really huge into stuff like Die Hard or James Bond or anything like that. So Lethal Weapon was never really anything I was too into until we got to Shane Black, and I'll talk about my Shane Black experiences more in just a little bit. But Dragon, what is your experience with Lethal Weapon?
Well, Lethal Weapon's one of those movies that, for the longest time, I've heard it mentioned here and there, Lethal Weapon, this, Lethal Weapon, that. It's just kind of a conversation, but unfortunately, I never really grew up with this movie, and I just, at a certain point, basically after, I've heard so many times, the name brought up, then eventually, mainly kind of comparison to Die Hard, which is another one. Basically, Die Hard and Lethal Weapon are ones that kind of escape my nostalgic grasp, and I just, you hear the names brought up now and again, like usually when talking about Bruce Willis, Die Hard's mentioned, and in terms of Lethal Weapon, when I heard, the big selling point for me was when I heard, oh my god, Richard Donner directed this, I gotta check this out. When I heard Richard Donner was involved, I mean, and also I think at some point, like Iron Man 3 was brought up, like, yeah, Shane Black, he did that, and basically I think it was on the Iron Man 3 commentary I heard, like, basically being brought up, the whole buddy angle that Shane Black's kind of known for, and in terms of Tony and Rhodey, it's also kind of mentioned. Well, Lethal Weapon does something similar. I forget if it was at some point it was kind of brought up that it's kind of a similar dynamic that Shane Black likes to do. So basically, those two elements really mixed together made me check out the film series, and I was very impressed by it.
Yeah, and definitely after watching the first movie, I'm very interested in following these characters, and I'm glad that I have more to go. So that's fun, Dragon. That's fun. I'm looking forward to it. Okay, so should we get into, just because, folks, basically it's going to be a Shane Black sandwich here on I Can't Believe It's Christmas. Dragon, should we just reveal what the other Shane Black movie is and not reveal the one in the middle just yet?
All right, give him the bread.
Okay, so the bread is first Lethal Weapon, then a special choice that will be coming later on in the week, and then the second slice of bread is Iron Man 3. So we'll be comparing and contrasting Lethal Weapon with Iron Man 3. Dragon, it's funny though, because Iron Man 3 I think kind of stands on its own. I am in such a conundrum with this movie and The Nice Guys, Dragon. You don't even know. I am raging a war.
You're right, I don't know.
Head. I don't know. You don't know. Dragon, The Nice Guys is easily one of my favorite movies of 2016. It's up there in like the top 3. I absolutely love it. I think
Mine's Deadpool.
I know yours is Deadpool, and Deadpool's still in my top 10, so calm down. But Dragon, The Nice Guys just absolutely blew me away. Like, I watch Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. I think at this point, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang is probably, out of the 4 major Shane Black movies, being Iron Man 3, Lethal Weapon, Kiss Bang Bang, and Nice Guys, not counting Lethal Weapon 2, because I haven't seen that yet. I would definitely say Kiss Kiss Bang Bang it's not bad. It just got a lot of story issues. I like the 2 main characters, but the plot's really muddled. I would say The Nice Guys, Dragon, this is my dilemma. Lethal Weapon obviously came first, and it obviously like set all these glorious, glorious Shane Black tropes in motion, right? Like, I gotta give Lethal Weapon so much credit in that regard. And of course, you got Danny Glover and Mel Gibson, which is great. Dragon, what I'm trying to say is, even though I respect the hell out of Lethal Weapon, oh god, you're gonna hate me for this, I still think The Nice Guys is probably the better movie.
Well, I haven't seen The Nice Guys, so I can't really.
I mean, it's a fantastic film. I recommend it if you like this. Do you want me to just quickly list off some of the similarities between this and The Nice Guys?
Well, hold off on it for a minute. Let me build to it, man. Let's build to it a little bit. Just for a moment. Let me just talk about this film first, then we'll get to The Nice Guys.
All right.
So, real quick, this is kind of sort of a making up from the Shane Black side, because, again, we're kind of building a little bit of a sandwich here between kind of the Shane Black kind of style of kind of Christmas around action movies, or action movies around Christmas more specifically. So the origin of Lethal Weapon, of course, stemming from Shane Black. He kind of he's the writer. He turned in a screenplay, his first screenplay to mount his first kind of produced screenplay on the big screen. This was his baby from the very beginning. It was like it's Riggs and Murtaugh are his characters. Don't get me wrong. It of course bringing it from script to cinema. That's an adventure in its own right. Things change. Like originally, believe it or not, it was just written as kind of there's just kind of two white cops. Mm-hmm. It was, and again, just the casting of Danny Glover just made the film even better. I mean, just because he's just so naturalistic and everything. I'm saying the film and it was a lot darker in tone, and basically the origin of the film is that it's a buddy movie. It's basically what if Dirty Harry was a buddy cop film. That's where his genesis of the idea came from. Basically, what if Riggs were Dirty Harry, but it was kind of teamed up with someone to kind of counteract that. And the original concept, as I mentioned, again, you had kind of some differences that definitely kind of aren't as iconic as they are now. The whole the old cop, with the family and everything, versus the young hot shot. It was just the young crazy hot shot. Then it was a lot darker, and it was bigger with the action, which you got to remember comparatively, especially to the rest of the Lethal Weapon films. The action in this one's pretty. Don't get me wrong, it's great, and it can get explosive, but it's pretty bare bones. Like it's really kind of
pretty light. Yeah.
It's like spared. It's like used sparingly. It's like it's sprinkled throughout the film instead of like being one giant like set piece or anything. And he knew. I love this. In retrospect, Shane Black has also mentioned that in retrospect he wasn't really happy with that first draft, and that's why he kept rewriting it during the course of the film to kind of get it to the place we see it at now. Importantly, Richard Donner, he loves the script. He's really won over by the script. They present it to him, Leonard Nimoy. These guys are kind of presented with the scripts, and Richard Donner's like, well, definitely sign me up for that. And he brought the Riggs-Murtaugh relationship, because I assume Shane Black is kind of bringing the kind of the plot and kind of again just the genesis of what their two separate characters would be. And Richard and I just saw kind of the chemistry of like we could really bring that to screen. And Jeffrey Boehm, who I believe was involved in the Indiana Jones films, I recall his name when we were talking about when we were doing Indiana August. He brought Jeffrey Boehm. He's a good screenwriter. He brought more of the humor. So basically, those three elements you have kind of the genesis of the idea and kind of the dark, the action elements. That's all Shane Black. You have Richard Donner bringing kind of the heart to it, and you have Jeffrey Boehm bringing the humor. So all those three elements combined, you get Lethal Weapon.
Okay.
Now, of course, this one started also with this starting at all. You have elements that show up in other Shane Black films. Tiki stars off.
So, yeah, I definitely think Christmas is a big one for sure, definitely. Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. I think with Kiss Kiss Bang Bang and The Nice Guys, there are Christmas scenes in it, but it's not primarily a Christmas movie. I think with the Christmas thing, you're definitely going to be looking at Iron Man 3 as the big comparison, which is why we picked it for this series in particular. But Dragon, I absolutely think the genesis, like a lot of the meat of The Nice Guys comes from Lethal Weapon. Like the dynamic between the two characters is very similar. You've got one that's one that's more straight. Okay, look, I'm not going to go all day and kind of describe it, but you've got a buddy cop dynamic. Okay, let's just boil it down together. You've got a buddy cop dynamic. You've got family involved. You've got a daughter that plays an important role in the film in both of them. You've got the pornography industry involved in a certain way, weaved its way through the plot. You've got, adult films and whatnot. You've got, I thought this would be easier to just list off.
Is it set in Los Angeles, The Nice Guys?
Yes, it is shot in Los Angeles, yes. It's set in Los Angeles.
One has a mustache.
One does have a mustache. Thank you. Importantly, both films end with the two lead characters just kind of busting each other's balls and joking around after going through an adventure together.
And just judging from the trailers, and this one, it's not in this movie, it's in the second Lethal one, there's a scene involving a toilet in one of your main characters.
Sure.
I don't believe me. I don't want to spoil it for. I'm just saying the second one there's a really awesome scene with a toilet involved in one of our characters. That's all I'm going to say.
So, point being, as I was watching Lethal Weapon, there was like a checklist in my head forming of like, yep, that's a Shane Blackism. That's a Shane Blackism. That's a Shane Blackism. And Dragon, that's where my conflict comes in, because I do think that The Nice Guys is essentially Lethal Weapon perfected. Because you mentioned Shane Black, he was just starting out when he wrote Lethal Weapon. It's a absolutely fantastic screenplay, and I am not going to take that away from him. It's a brilliant screenplay. But Dragon, I gotta say, with 20 years or so under his belt of experience now, Shane Black really, with The Nice Guys, kind of perfected his craft. And really, I think The Nice Guys is just concentrated awesomeness of like, okay, we're going to give you like the formula of Lethal Weapon, but it's going to be like even more concentrated and even more well put together. So
you got to remember, it's years of building over other films, kind of perfecting it along the way. So eventually, after how many films, then you get The Nice Guys. So it's not just like, it's not cut and dry. Like, hey, here's the beginning and here's the very end. No, there's stuff in between.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. I'm just saying, like,
and Kiss Kiss Bang Bang being a good milestone and all that.
Dragon, what I'm really trying to say at the end of the day and going forward in this conversation is, I might like The Nice Guys a little bit more than Lethal Weapon as a film, but I still really like Lethal Weapon. And I don't think it's necessarily even fair. I think if I saw Lethal Weapon before seeing The Nice Guys, I probably wouldn't have the same opinion. But granted, I did see The Nice Guys first, and The Nice Guys is definitely up there in the best films of the year for me. And Lethal Weapon, again, I've only seen it twice. I've seen The Nice Guys like 4 times by now.
Well, we'll see how the sequels really, because that, in theory, should strengthen your resolve on Lethal Weapon over The Nice Guys, in theory.
Yeah, but I don't even know if The Nice Guys is going to get a sequel because it didn't.
Because Lethal Weapon movies, sequels get debatably better than the first one. That's the thing. Because the only difference is the other ones are like their best friends from the beginning. It gets really really fun going forward. Like you see how that develops. But of course, this one stands out among the rest of the Lethal Weapon films. Like, okay, this is when they first met.
Okay, so Dragon, let's
Well,
unless you have
real
anything
quick,
else to,
just
yeah, go ahead.
yeah, I wanted to mention off here just the signatures that Shane Black does have. Again, just the buddy dynamic with good dialogue, the quest like plot. Basically, in terms of like Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, it's like we keep following leads the whole movie. That kind of gets us from point A to point B to point C.
Same thing with the Nice Guys, yeah.
Okay. Then we have the Christmas setting, of course, which the reason for the Christmas setting, from what I found, is that the reason Shane Black really just decided, who doesn't like Christmas? The main reason he really likes to set the action films around, set his films around Christmas time because he believes it's a really good juxtaposition to the subject. Like, okay, well, it's good imagery in the backgrounds. It kind of, we have dark stuff going on, or like you have kind of real gritty stuff going on. It'd be nice to kind of soften. Basically, it makes it stand out more. That's why it's maybe a little more iconic. Like, okay, remember that scene's going on? Remember it's like the setting around Christmas time.
Yeah, definitely,
The reds and greens, and of course the last scene in week 11, of course, get decorations around. And again, it's at least some fun memorables. It kind of makes the scenes pop a little bit. I think that's really why I like the kind of the Christmas set. It kind of makes things pop and like, oh yeah, I remember it's around Christmas time.
Okay, so let's get into the character dynamics then.
Well, wait. Summary, Tiki. We gotta summarize this thing. We gotta say it's been years.
Look, we're under kind of a tight schedule here, so really quick.
All right. Real quick. In the crime-ridden city of 1980s LA, 50-year-old Sergeant Roger Murtaugh is paired with a newly transferred ex-Special Forces Sergeant Martin Riggs, who happens to have a death wish. Since his wife has been killed. The two get off to a rocky start with Riggs' suicidal antics as they look into the mysterious death of Roger's old war buddy's daughter, which leads to all sorts of craziness. A heroin smuggling operation, Shadow Company, being uncovered, which is led by Vietnam Special Forces veterans, including Gary Busey.
Oh, yeah.
Things get personal as Roger and then Martin start the bond and work together to save Murtaugh's kidnapped daughter, Rianne, ending in an exciting Christmas Eve brawl. You have to see to believe, and that's the film in a nutshell.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Dragon. Now let's go through some dynamics.
Yes!
Okay. So, obviously, we got to start with Riggs and Murtaugh. My God. Dragon, as much as I do think the Nice Guys is kind of Lethal Weapon perfected, these two characters are probably even more likable than the two main characters in that movie.
Yeah, Marty, this is one of the most famous cop movie dynamics ever. So you can't, as much as you praise the Nice Guys, you can't tell me that's going to top these guys,
No, I mean, just in terms of sheer character dynamics, these guys are priceless. I mean, I am honestly kind of jealous of people who grew up on this because it's such a fun chemistry. I don't even know what to say about it, Dragon. I don't even know what to say that hasn't been said.
They complement each other just so darn well, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. It's just, it feels like a trope that, now with all these procedural shows and everything like that and the buddy cop thing really taking off as a genre after this movie, we've seen the whole, the family man and then the loose cannon. We've seen that done so many times, but I think in a way, this is kind of definitely the perfected version of that where, I mean, Murtaugh is just, he's such a good family man, but at the same time, Dragon, I feel like one of the things that really makes the film work is the fact that Murtaugh kind of becomes more of a loose cannon throughout the film, while Riggs becomes more attached to Murtaugh's family throughout the film.
Yeah, they're two guys that absolutely need each other to get to a kind of a place in unison by the end of the film. They both make each other better. It's kind of the best dynamics. They actually complement each other. It's not like a forced pairing. I mean, by definition, it's a forced pairing, but you know what I mean? Eventually, it's like fate put them together. And I don't mean just plot. I mean, fate put them together in this case. That Murtaugh, in addition to just kind of being, again, kind of the family man, we got to remember that this film and 40 Hours are basically the definitive buddy cop films.
Sure.
Basically, 48 Hours predates us. Otherwise, I'd say Lethal Weapon is the definitive kind of buddy cop film. But the two of them basically you don't get Toy Story with that 48. You don't get Toy Story. You don't get Toy Story with that 48 Hours in some capacity. So again, I have to mention 48 Hours because again, that's where you get the buddy movie dynamic. So it's really key. And that anyway. So Murtaugh. Murtaugh kind of represents the audience's reactions to Riggs at the same time. He really voices that, and it's really fun. In various scenes, just kind of looking at him.
One of the things, another Shane Black trope is just kind of the running gags that go throughout the movie and how they're paid off. Which, yeah, that's wonderful. Like the whole asking if he's crazy or not.
Is there anyone you didn't kill?
And Dragon, there's also just writing wise some very, very heartwarming stuff that gets paid off. Like, oh, remarks like that aren't going to get you invited to Christmas dinner.
Consider my luck's getting better every day.
And of course, the bullet, which is beautiful, and we'll bring that up later.
Certainly, and with that, just kind of getting back to kind of how they make each other better, is that again, Murtaugh gives Riggs a reason to live. Technically, I mean, in a way, he gives him. How beautiful is that? He gives him a reason to live. Getting to know he and his family, knowing how great they are as kind of partners as a unit. And, Riggs, the whole just Riggs re-energizes the tired 50-year-old on the job. He's like about probably possibly like 10 years away from retirement. Still, I mean, you don't know how many. Again, there's retirement just for this, for your own safety and for your family's safety. So you don't know how it goes. Regardless, Riggs, he's just re-energized kind of this tired Murtaugh who's, I'm getting too old for this stuff. We saw that. He saves his family again because he kind of motivates Murtaugh. He motivates Murtaugh to kind of be able to do that on his own. He's taking really gutsy chances later on with grenades and stuff. I mean, he motivates him to do some crazy things. He saves. I just love that he saves Murtaugh's family in the most destructive ways possible. He just saves him a lot of property damage to the Murtaugh house.
Oh yeah.
They develop a great trust by the end of it, and I think it's like the last thing Murtaugh. I think it kind of summarizes itself in a beautiful statement: is that the last thing Murtaugh needs by the end is just what he needed the whole time. The last thing he needs is kind of a young, reckless guy to get this guy who's just aching to get to retirement in a way. It's like I don't need it. I'm 50 years old. I don't need like a destructive. I'm getting too old for this stuff. I don't need a destructive young guy who wants to get himself killed. And then by the end, this is exactly what I need. I need a guy who can remind me why they do this thing.
Yeah, he basically lit a fire under his ass when he was like so comfortable with retirement. You know what I mean?
In a way, it's like he's regaining some youth in a way.
Sure.
I don't mean to make it seem like 50's like over the hill or anything. I'm just saying that's kind of the whole premise of the franchise. Like Murtaugh, he's kind of the older, he's the family and everything. So again, that's kind of they kind of reach an awesome middle ground. That he's younger and full of more vigor, and he's compared to Riggs, who's kind of being domesticated by Roger.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so speaking of Roger Murtaugh, let's talk about the Murtaugh family and Riggs. There's a Brady Bunch for you.
Yeah, definitely. Well, first of all, just oh my God, the whole dynamic with the daughter and it's so great. Seeing
that is one of the Tiki. You got to see the rest of the films because that's a funny running gag through all of them. It kind of gets ended at the fourth one, but still with the first three films, they keep playing it up that Rianne likes Riggs.
And it's Mel Gibson back when Mel Gibson was like super charming. So who wouldn't love Riggs during that time period? Come on now.
And importantly, just so no one gets creeped out. Again, he doesn't enact these. He doesn't play on this at all. She has like a little crush on Riggs. She likes him.
But you know what? That's what I like about the dynamic is that they could have easily gone creepy with it. They could have easily had Riggs kind of play into it, but they don't, and they keep it very respectful. And that's why I think it stands out as much as it does. You know what I mean?
It becomes like an awesome running gag where Murtaugh keeps starting to kill Riggs if he goes near his daughter. Anyway, but yeah, you're right though. It's really sweet. Again, there's that running gag, and of course Trish. I love that Trish plays into the show. Tiki, I'm going to mention this more so when we get to kind of the final thoughts, I suppose. But the Lethal Weapon show that's on now. I mean, initially I thought it was like one of the most horrible ideas ever. Watching it though, again, it's different. It probably doesn't measure up to the movie, but not by as much a gap as you would think. It's good in a different way. It's just not as it's not as unmeasurable as you can't really compare it to like this original huge thing that gave us the buddy cop films essentially. As we see them today. Point is, it's like you can't really compare the show and this, but the show kind of takes the ideas of the film and kind of goes in directions that are kind of emblematic of the film. Point is, with this, Trish, I love that in this film and also in the show, she kind of plays into the life Riggs can't have. It's kind of a reminder of, Riggs wished, he was married. If Riggs was married, he could still, if his wife was alive, he could have had that family. He could have been like Murtaugh.
Mm-hmm.
in a way, I'm sure it's kind of a reminder that that's why Riggs kind of likes being around the family. Riggs, he's very respectful. He has a really classy dynamic. When he goes to the family, he's nice. He's not crazy. He's not crazy and reckless around the family. He wants to cleans up the act. And he's so darn charming.
Yeah, I think you hit it over the head. It's definitely, Riggs is essentially like a tragic character. It's like he's very much at the precipice of wanting to kill himself. He's got a bullet specifically made for that purpose, and so to pull him into a family like that, it's just such a nice okay. It just makes you feel good seeing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and Tiki, that's the perfect word, because like the show and much like the film series, the films are always, they're feel-good movies in a way. They feel good, they're awesome feel-good movies, and the show is a feel-good show, which is why whether people critically, like it or not, I think the audience really likes it. It makes, whether it's as deep as you want it to go, or if it measures absolutely up to the show, think, oh man, I enjoyed watching that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
For these moments, for all the these are some of the best moments of Lethal Weapon, all these Murtaugh family moments, and they keep going throughout the whole franchise too. Just these great moments of Riggs interacting with the family, and I love that it's like a strategic purpose too. Why Murtaugh's bringing him to the house, because in a way, he's training this unruly partner by bringing him to a house to kind of domesticate him in a way.
Right.
It's because he's stuck with him. Remember, he can't. He's training a new partner, so he can't really have him transfer anything. So I might as well. He's getting a read on him at the same time. He's kind of measuring, say, what's the guy's problem? Maybe I can figure it out if I bring him next to a family setting. Invite him to dinner.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned that. Absolutely, I think the best pieces in this movie are the character pieces, the dialogue, and between the family and whatnot. I mean, definitely between Riggs and Murtaugh as well, but just, yeah, Dragon, I definitely think the highlight is the family stuff for sure, and that's what Shane Black does so well, is he does character dynamics so well. So,
I mean, by the end, last thing I'm going to say before we move on, sorry, last is that he's a symbol. The family is just a symbol of Riggs. It's simply Riggs being part of the family, having reason to live. That's what all that boils down to, is that he's literally becoming part of a family by the end of the film. Like, he's invited in, he's invited to dinner. It's like him walking into that house symbolizes, hey, Riggs complete. He's part of the family. He's not alone anymore, which is really sweet. Okay. Speaking of families.
So, Dragon, I need to go down and get a coffee for our own benefit, for the benefit of this podcast, because I'm losing it a little bit. So, can you go through the next dynamic, and I'll be back in a minute?
All right.
And trust me, I'll be way more peppy. I'll be way more perky. All right.
Okay, well, anyway, our next dynamic would be Murtaugh and Hunsucker. Hunsucker is Murtaugh's ex-Vietnam his ex-Vietnam buddy. They fought in combat. They're like old war buddies in a way. And it's actually kind of a thing of the times with this film. I kind of forgot about how tied into the Vietnam War it was. I completely forgot about that. That all of these guys. Well, I forget if I'm pretty sure they explicitly mentioned, like, an offhand. Like, I remember looking on Wikipedia, it said Vietnam War. That could be just the Wikipedia reading into the whole. Well, that'd be the logical war, and that's why I just said all over the place there. But then again, I can't remember if it's just like an offhand. The point is that they're old war buddies. It's just the fact they're all tied into the same war. Another connection Riggs and Murtaugh have. They're both kind of in the war. Only difference is Riggs is special forces. He was like top of the line, kind of easy guys, save for the real dangerous stuff. These guys save for like all the kind of the tactical, real fancy stuff. And, the idea of Murtaugh and Hunsucker, they were just kind of their war buddies. Are kind of like in the trench together, just kind of blue collar guys. And Hunsucker, he's working for the bank. They've taken different paths, and they've remained close, which is nice. Again, old friends, and it's a good examination of kind of the friends Murtaugh has versus kind of the friend he's going to make with Riggs. Now, he's friend with Hunsucker, and he thinks he knows this guy out of the back of his hand. The friends of the family, and he finds that Hunsucker has a secret, kind of a dark secret in a way, connected to the same thing Riggs at some point was connected to, the same kind of the same kind of special forces squad. In a way, like Hunsucker, he's working for those guys. In a way, so he's kind of transcendentally kind of linked to Riggs even more so. And, he's grieving over the loss of his daughter, which is sad, and that's kind of his breaking point, just kind of getting out to the Murtaugh. He wants revenge. He's asking Murtaugh if he will, kind of betray his principles and kill the bad guys if he goes after him. He wants revenge for his daughter, and that really motivates him. And again, it's a good foreshadow to, he's warning Murtaugh, you know who you're messing with these guys. These guys are dangerous. And again, killed his daughter. Now, this, first and foremost, really establishes the stakes that he's going to go up against with with Rianne being kidnapped in the film. So like he knows, oh my god, my friend's daughter was killed by these guys. So my daughter is in really legitimate danger, as she would be anyway. But in a way, Hunsucker does represent, like, if Murtaugh's cop life disintegrated. It basically, it's what if Murtaugh's like his cop life disintegrated his family life in a way. It's like, what if Hunsucker.
Okay. Popeye's got his spinach, and we're ready to go. Okay, so where were we, Dragon?
I was just about to finish up Hunsucker here, the Hunsucker Murtaugh dynamic. Pretty much what I think I was getting is that if Murtaugh's cop life it's basically what Hunsucker goes through in this film. So, he's basically, his family life is kind of destroyed by this side business he has going on with the bad guys, with kind of this thing linked to the military, with kind of his former service thing. So basically, it's like it's kind of a neat dynamic where we see Murtaugh, he balances it really nicely. He's a cop, his family knows he's a cop, and various real awesome moments where, like, it's like they know there's a crisis going on, but they know, okay, he knows how to deal with this sort of thing. Where Hunsucker, on the other hand, he's involved with these guys, his daughter's getting killed, and he's in great danger, and eventually gets killed by a helicopter, which is kind of awesome, but also sad.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Murtaugh and Riggs are both veterans, right?
They're all veterans, interestingly.
Okay.
I pointed that out to the folks. Basically, the difference is that Murtaugh, he and Hunsucker were in the trenches. They weren't part of the special force thing. Murtaugh and Hunsucker were part of just the blue collar guys. They were just like in the trenches where, I mean. And Riggs and Busey and the other guys, they were all part of the same special forces outfit.
Okay, so you ready to talk about some Busey?
Yes.
Okay, Dragon, I'm just curious. I am just curious. Is there any particular reason why you singled this out? Like, Tiki, pay attention to the General and the Mr. Joshua dynamic. Like, I want you to cover that one. Any reason in particular you wanted me to cover that dynamic, Dragon? I'm just curious. I'm dying to know.
None that I'm at liberty to say on air.
None that you're at liberty to say on air. Okay.
Let's just say I need to keep you on your toes. Let's just say that much.
Keep me on. Well, geez. Okay. So is this a test then? Is this like a performance test right now?
Well, will it make you more nervous if I say yes?
Yes.
Then no.
Okay, good. So here's what I got out of the General and Mr. Joshua, Dragon. I think that Mr. Joshua is essentially kind of like a James Bondian type guy. And my whole thing is he's essentially like a Jaws if Jaws was like suave and sophisticated. Like, he's got the...
Again, just
what?
To illustrate to the folks, he's not a shark walking on land.
No. I'm talking about the guy. I'm talking about the guy with the teeth, not the shark. Okay.
I know. Just the kiddies at home may not have seen the James Bond film featuring Jaws.
You know who I'm talking about. Anyways, no, I definitely thought that really it's an interesting dynamic where it's very Bondian, where the General, Mr. Joshua, just seems to be like the General's right-hand soldier, like in terms of a war, because we see illustrated in the very first scene between these two, Dragon, the General and Mr. Joshua, like, the General takes the lighter from the guy, and keep in mind, this isn't like a big lighter, this isn't like a small, tiny flame, it's like, no.
It's an 80s lighter.
Exactly, and it's just, it looks so painful, and then,
well, remember what's really funny? The General says, "Do you smoke?" What? Do you smoke?
Do you smoke? And then just, I don't know, it really baffled me in a good way how, and of course it's Gary Busey. Of course it's got to be Gary Busey. Where Busey is just, he just sits there and takes the fire under his arm, and it's just to illustrate the point where it's like, yeah, this guy can take an assload of pain, and they're loyal to me. Exactly. So really, I definitely think that's what the core of the General dynamic comes down to, is the General is, and it's interesting because, like I said, our two main characters are veterans themselves. So to go up against a general, someone that in the army or in whatever branch they were in of the military, would be actually in a position of power above them and would be in a position of respect and leadership. It's a very interesting dynamic that kind of gets turned on its head. And I guess the last thing I really have to say about it, Dragon, because, you know, it's a test and everything, is really Mr. Joshua kind of represents maybe what Riggs could have turned into if he lost his humanity and just became the lethal weapon, you know, the titular lethal weapon without any emotion behind it. You know, if he just kind of went full on like, well, I'm dead inside, but at least I've got this set of skills that I can use to my advantage to make some money. You know what I mean? I kind of got that a little bit too. I don't know.
Yes, I agree with you. Just the only word I use, the only different thing I use is like it's more like he's morally bankrupt. Riggs if he didn't have morals.
Okay, fair enough. So,
but we'll
so
get more on that when we.
Yeah. So that's my general assessment of the general. That's my general assessment of the general and Mr. Joshua. Redundancy is redundant.
Yeah, you know, I kind of noticed 2 points I just want to bring up real quick. I only really have 2 points on these guys. I think if you notice, they have like a really controlled symbiotic relationship in a way. Like, you know, again, he really relies on Mr. Joshua. He trusts his men. It's kind of showcased in the whole lighter burn scene, which we've seen parodied many times afterwards. You even saw it parodied on Arrow recently. Just
oh God, no! Oh God!
They say, here's the thing: like the bad, I forget if it starred. God, I won't even bore you. There's a character called. There's a character based on the wrestler whose name's Stardust. I don't. The point is, there's this character who's just demonstrating the fact that he has powers now. He says, "Remember that scene from Lethal Weapon with Gary Busey? I love that scene. He rolls up his sleeve and he does the thing.
Oh God!
To prove that he can like heal from it, or like he doesn't feel pain or something. I can't quite remember. Anyway, I think it's like an Ajax no pain thing. I'm pretty sure. Anyway, regardless, you know, with the kind of it's just showing. Like a single action is kind of showcasing like, okay, these two guys, like this is his right hand man. But importantly, what I really love about their dynamics, I love they have kind of they have a trust. They mirror the Riggs Murtaugh relationship in 2 ways. One, in that again, it's kind of like we have kind of the older guy and we have kind of the younger, crazier guy.
Yeah, that's a very good point as well, for sure. They kind of mirror each other.
And secondly, more importantly, I really love that they kind of mirror the arc of Riggs and Murtaugh, that they have that trust in the beginning of this film. That's the trust that Riggs and Murtaugh will have by the end of the film.
Uh-huh.
You know, just like these two guys, they use the kind of, okay, I'm going to demonstrate to these guys that we mean business by showcasing how crazy my partner is, which of course is going to be the dynamic that Riggs and Murtaugh are going to have. So it's kind of interesting, kind of a full circle thing. Like, okay, we're going to kind of a foreshadow what our heroes' relationship is going to be by seeing the villains.
Yeah, gotcha.
All right. Let's see. So moving on. Just these two are going to go by real quick. Just going to examine kind of Murtaugh's relationship with the LAPD.
Sure. I love that they have so much reverence and respect for him, and he's just kind of like a dad figure to a lot of the force.
I believe they said like he's been on the force for like 20, maybe 25 years at this point.
Right.
Like 20 years.
So it's like they're all, you know, it's like, I don't know, it's like I kind of feel like this guy, he's not like the chief or anything like that, but they all kind of gravitate around him at the office.
Yeah, it's like everyone's uncle, you know. It's like, oh, it's yeah. I think your comparison probably better, but yeah, you know, he's very. I love that the LAPD in terms of like, you know, they're all looking upon Murtaugh. They're all looking upon Murtaugh. Was like, hey, what's we heard like this guy I really like is being paired with a crazy rookie. Oh, go, let's see what happens. That's kind of the mentality of them. And in a way, they're also kind of like mainly with the two characters being Captain Murphy. Captain Murphy. These characters are all in all 4 films, by the way. Basically, no one gets recast, which is really impressive. I never really considered that until today. I was watching something. Yeah, they really did stay all the way through. It's pretty impressive. Captain Murphy and Dr. Woods. Dr. Woods is the psychiatrist, and these characters under different names. Pretty much, they stick to the kind of the characters we get for Lethal Weapon. They change the names in the new TV show. And they do a little bit more with these two, and these two get more development. Not so much Dr. Woods. Dr. Woods turns into a running gag, but Captain Murphy, it's a little bit of development over time.
Okay.
The point being, I like with those two characters in a way, like they're feeding into what Murtaugh's going through, and that they're like an impartial side of Murtaugh's arc. Like Murtaugh's just kind of asking the guys, "What do you think of this crazy guy I'm paired with?" You know, like he's telling Dr. Woods, "Well, he's doing this and this. Is he dangerous? Is he dangerous? Tell me what I'm working with here." And Doctor was just, they're very impartial. Like, well, I mean, you give us something that, the only way I can like transfer him is if he does something truly crazy. And it was just like, well, Murtaugh, you're stuck with him. I don't know what to tell you. It's like Captain Murphy, It's like it's like an impartial version of what Murtaugh's going through, saying, well, bring us something we can use, maybe we can help you. Otherwise, not so much.
Yeah. Very fun.
You got Riggs and the LAPD.
I honestly think that this can just be summed up in that one scene early on where Riggs is just explaining his position. It's like, either people think I want to kill myself and I'm crazy and they don't want to work with me, or people think I'm faking it to get a pension and they don't want to work with me. Either way, they don't want to work with me.
Looked at as like in the narcotics scenes from the very beginning, which we'll talk about in favorite moments. Let's just say that much.
Sure.
Basically, you just sense every cop in a way they're looking at him like, well, he's crazy, but he's effective. Like this guy is like no sane cop would do any of this, but I mean he's getting results though. And the running gag that starts here is that his behavior deeply concerns Dr. Woods.
Oh yeah.
It gets better, and the next one gets really funny. Of like it's just the running gag that the show goes about this very differently. I don't want to just compare it to the show every which way. I'm just bringing it up here because it is kind of. The therapist gets more of a dynamic with Riggs in the show, but here's a running gag where it's she's always saying, Riggs, you should stop by my office. He always like makes fun of her, turns her down, like, I don't need therapy. It's not going to help. Only by like the fourth film does he actually ask her for help, and then she turns him down, just saying, oh, you're going to make fun of me again. I'm through.
Nice.
That's pretty fun. Anyway, that's just Riggs and the LAPD. Next would be let's go. I noticed we get a really interesting dynamic with kind of our two villains paired with specific heroes here. So let's go with the General and Murtaugh.
General and Murtaugh. All right, Dragon. I got to admit, I watched, like when I was flipping through my watch, I was looking more for the Joshua side of things. So I have more to say about Joshua. But like I say, the one thing I do have to say is it's kind of like I said, the position of power kind of switched on its head a little bit. Like, this is a guy where in the military, you're kind of just trained to respect him just based on position and authority. And now he's just kind of like, I don't know. First of all, Dragon, I like how he sees how the general has affected people that he's close to, like Hunsucker. Like he's basically turned Hunsucker into like a shadow of who he used to be by roping him into his business. And I think that's very personal for Murtaugh.
Yeah. Real quick, I wanted to mention something because we keep calling the general just for short, but actually, real quick, we should mention. His name is whether there's like a missing kind of A or something in this, I'm pretty sure it's Peter McAllister.
McAllister, yeah, you're absolutely right.
The reason I bring it up is remember the father from Home Alone, Tiki.
Yeah, Kevin McAllister.
No.
The father. That's the kid. That's the kid. I'm sorry.
Kevin's father is named Peter McAllister.
Oh God! Wow! And both of them are probably equally terrible human beings.
Well, I mean, terrible in different ways. Bear in mind. I mean, I don't believe Peter McAllister, the one from Big, necessarily. Like John Hurt, I don't believe John.
Wait, there's a Peter McAllister in Big.
Yeah.
Oh my God! Wow.
No. I'm saying it's the same. I'm saying John Hurd, the same actor, is in Big. It's different names.
Oh, okay. I was about to say, like, wow, there's a Peter McAllister in 3 different movies. I
don't think Peter McAllister is kidnapping children, except in this movie.
Anyways.
Anyway, with the general, though, it's kind of interesting the dynamic between him and I love looking kind of the General Murtaugh. I never really thought of this until we looked at it for today. Is that the general he's he's the one, he's in control and he's very sure of himself. He's very overconfident. Hence that little lighter move. Again, he's just demonstrating he's basically what if again he's kind of Murtaugh by the end thing. I'm sure I know my guy can take care of business. And again, he's just very sure of himself because of that. He's in control. He's very he's very cocky in a way. Versus kind of our very humble blue collar aged veteran who has honor. Both the Riggs and Murtaugh, they both have a great deal of honor. It sounds kind of samurai-ish in a way of like just talking about honor and everything. But seriously, it's kind of an interesting dynamic between two. That's really the divide between them and the villains, is that they are versions, the kind of darker versions of themselves, but have lost the integrity, basically lost the honor of fulfilling their job in a way. They're both veterans, both of them. The General and Joshua are veterans versus Riggs Murtaugh, both veterans. And he's using his they're both corrupt versions of the other.
Right.
You know, he's using family where Murtaugh would never use family because he's a family man. Again, that's why I think Murtaugh just deeply hates the general. One, because he kidnapped his daughter and he's threatening really bad stuff. And again, he did brutal torture. He put salt in the wound. Remember how brutal that was?
Yeah, man, I was shocked with it was kind of like kick-ass levels of okay, how's this for a total shift?
Because it's one thing to see Mel Gibson abused, but it's a whole nother thing entirely to see poor Danny Glover abused. Because I mean, come on, Danny Glover's like America's sweetheart. You don't want to.
Oh, Mel Gibson! I just realized how many people probably would love that scene in retrospect. Just Mel Gibson just getting shocked the shit out of.
Because one of two, either again, without getting into, I'm saying one of either. If you agree with that, again, you're going to get enjoyment from Mel Gibson getting tortured, but otherwise, you're going to think, well, you know, he can take it.
Yeah, right. But no, you're absolutely right. Danny Glover is kind of like he's slowly becoming America's grandpa in a great way. You know,
he was in Angels in the Outfield, for pity's sake. Come on.
So yeah,
he mentored Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Come on.
The whole torture scene, even though I will say that the rig scene is brutal in its own way. You know, let's not cut it any slack. It looks very painful. But yeah, it's more upsetting seeing it happen to Danny Glover for sure.
I think it's what you said with that grandfather, kind of like America's grandfatherly quality. Just even with Murtaugh, it's just the respectability. It's like if you took something like a position of power, like respect, and you just kind of turn it like he's abusing that respect of like, hey, I'm going to use that my clout so I can sell heroin. Absolutely. In this little shadow corporation thing we got going on here, which again is like something. Interestingly, by the end, they kind of question if Murdoch's. Sorry, I keep saying Murdoch because it looks the same in my notes for the certain level. Murtaugh. They keep by the fourth film, there's kind of questions raised about how Murtaugh, if he may be on the take because he can afford nice things, and they have a really hilarious explanation for that. Well, I don't want to spoil it. The point is just a really hilarious explanation. But again, it's kind of fun. Like, you know, if Murtaugh were got out of the army, but he was corrupt and he used his power in some way, that's kind of what you'd have with the general. Anyways, he just hates this man to his core, and which. When he really gets to that place of hate, and it just leads him to kind of making more Riggs-like choices and gets to a Riggs-like mentality of, I'll kill you. You know, he's
Sure.
You know, you never go after Murtaugh's family, especially if you see Lethal Weapon 2. You do not go after Murtaugh's family.
Lethal Neeson. Liam Neeson has nothing on Murtaugh.
Lethal Neeson.
Yeah, Lethal Neeson. It's a long day.
Hey, okay, let me throw this at you real quick. This is gonna be a wacky one. If you were to remake a Lethal Weapon, that bear in mind we already have that going on right now. So I'm saying if we had Liam Neeson in a Lethal Weapon remake of some variety, who would you get as his younger counterpart?
Oh, Shia LaBeouf.
I think I got one better.
Okay.
America's other sweetheart, Anthony Mackie.
I'm just saying Shia LaBeouf would play Unhinged very well.
I don't know. Actually,
I'm sticking up for the LaBeouf man. Come on, the LaBeouf man doesn't get enough love these days. I'm sticking up.
I take that back. I think you have a good point with Shia LaBeouf. I'm just saying, he's got a point. Yeah, LaBeouf would play. It's the Riggs thing. And now that I think about
that's what I'm saying. I mean, when I say Shia LaBeouf, your mind instantly goes to like Kingdom of the Crystal Skull and Transformers. But no, it's like Shia LaBeouf has matured into a great actor. I feel like with movies like Fury, he's a method actor like nobody's business. I think he'd get really into a Riggs-like role. What?
I got it. Maybe Jared Leto.
Yeah, I feel so bad for Jared Leto.
Yeah, but you know, again, even we're joking here with like Neeson remakes and everything. I'm just saying, that guy's like
Lethal Neeson. Hashtag Lethal Neeson.
I just want to see a movie called Lethal Neeson, just him like going around solo, like mundane, like a documentary. Like, here's what Liam Neeson does, like the most mundane things ever.
Oh my god!
But then the last 2 minutes, like it's a big.
I have to go get my dry cleaning done today, and then I've got to go to the grocery store and get some eggs, and I'm going to make myself a nice omelet. Yeah.
But then, like the last
brunch, I'm going to make it for brunch. It's not quite breakfast. It's not quite lunch. You see, I'm going to make it around 11 a.m. Okay, you get the point. You get the point.
And, like, the last 2 minutes is like the most bombastic action scene you've ever seen.
Okay, wow.
Anyways,
we've
back
got
on topic
yeah.
here. So let's transition to Mr. Joshua and Riggs as kind of like capping off of our dynamics here.
I already think I summed it up pretty well. Like, Joshua is essentially Riggs without a soul. You're kind of like selling out his principles, selling out his morals. It's like,
yeah, it's a very honor-based dichotomy in a way. Is that
exactly.
One is they're both. Here's what they have in common: they're both unstable and dangerous. And again, the difference in that is, I believe, I'm just throwing this out there, I think Joshua was probably made that way by war, and Riggs possibly by the loss. Well, I know Riggs mainly by the loss as well. But don't get me wrong, they both experienced war and seen a lot of worse, especially these guys because they're probably special forces. I'm not saying anyone's like involved in that was like less there. I'm just saying special forces means like these guys are trained to see the worst of the worst.
Mm-hmm.
Point is that basically it's like the loss turned kind of Riggs off his rocker and then made him unhinged, and Josh is probably by the war itself.
Exactly. You could totally just see like a couple more, steps in the wrong directions for Riggs, and he could totally end up as someone like Joshua.
It's basically, what if Riggs were greedy and more self-interested over, you look at they're very similar except for one has no honor and morality, as you've been saying. They get very accurately, but at the same time too, it's like we see Joshua. He's been employed. He's like greedy and self-interested. And the difference between that and Riggs, like Riggs, he's honor driven, but also he has a desire to die. There's a part of him that just doesn't care. Like, if I get killed doing a good job, I'll get killed doing the right thing. Basically, if I get killed, if I want to die, I might as well die wanting to do the right thing. Versus Joshua's like, hey, I'm gonna not die. I'm gonna use my crazy to make money. And remember, he tries to get away at the end. He's getting revenge and he's getting away. So he's crazy that I want to seek revenge. I've been foiled. I'm now being hunted by the police. I'm going to go to Murtaugh. I'm going to kill his whole family.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very good points all around.
Yeah. Okay. Point, and of course, it leads to they are a really good crazy match with each other, don't you? Like, Josh is aching to fight Riggs, and remember, they defeat the bad guy. It's like,
yeah, and like I said, Dragon, the torture scene really is. I mean, it's upsetting to see Danny Glover, of course, but the shock and what I love about that scene is how it incorporates the water as well. It's just the water just kind of like, even if the water does nothing, just the fact that the water is there just kind of like implements this pain in your mind, that you imagine Riggs is going through with the electricity. You just imagine the water's just intensifying it. I don't know. Am I making any
sense? And remember, we get a really cool callback to that with the whole, like, the last fight is like during the rain, and we have during the rain, Briggs he's in the shirtless thing like he was beforehand when he was being tortured. So again, it's a callback to him being split, all that water going around him. Josh was torturing Riggs for the heck of it because he knows he can take it. The general, he's torturing Murtaugh strategically. He's trying to get him to kind of reveal the information. Joshua knows for a fact that he doesn't have any information. He's torturing him for that because he's a sick little puppy.
Exactly.
So, let's get the favorite scenes.
Favorite scenes, yeah. Okay, you want me to go first?
Yes.
Okay, let's do it. So, I guess, am I going in chronological order here?
Yes.
Okay, so first off is the introduction of, it's not the first time we see Riggs, but it's the first time we see Riggs on the field in his, kind of mode. It's the Christmas tree bust. Now, Dragon, we won't mention any of the Christmas stuff in the scene. What I really want to concentrate on is just how effective this scene is in showing the unhinged quality to Riggs. I love how the scene kind of slowly builds where it's like, he's counting out the money and the dealers are getting pissed like, no, I said 100,000, not 100, get out of here, like, it's done. And then Gibson, he's just so calm. He's like, oh, I'm sorry, guys. I can't afford 100,000. It's none of my salary. But here, you know what? I got it. I got a great idea. How about this? How about I take all this for free and you two go to jail? Whips out his badge. And then, of course, Dragon, I love how the scene escalates. And, Dragon, now, correct me if I'm wrong. The line, you want to get nuts, let's get nuts, that's from Lethal Weapon, right?
No, Tiki, that's from Batman 89.
That's from Batman. Wow. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Well, two things. One, you want to get nuts? So let's get nuts. It's Michael Keaton special. Come on. Secondly, what's really great in this is that Mel Gibson, I believe in real life, and this permeates the Lethal Weapon franchise. He loves
the reason why I think it's. Hold on, I just need to save myself with this. The reason why I thought of "You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts" is because Mel Gibson essentially kind of echoes that in a way. He's like, "You want to get crazy? You want to see crazy? I'll show ya crazy!" Ah! So. I'm sorry, Dragon. You're right. I was just kind of wondering. I haven't seen 89 in a long time, so I was just wondering if that was a thing that reoccurs throughout the film. But go ahead. You were making a point.
Well, the reason it was on your mind is you saw movie fights at some point. That's in their new intro.
You know what? You're absolutely right.
By the way, they have a really awesome new intro, by the way, for that. By the way, it's really cool. They end on the Civil War thing. Oh, it's amazing. Okay. Anyway, but I was building to explanation of why it's so similar. Is that Lethal Weapon in the franchise, especially, I believe Mel Gibson put this in. It might have been like improvisation. Like he loves the Three Stooges, and what he was doing was like,
oh my god, it's
curly thing.
Yeah,
because he was saying crazy. I'm crazy, and like he's doing like the little. Basically, he's beating himself, like slapping himself, and like he's doing like the boom.
Uh-huh.
He loves to do it through all of the films. Like he loves emulating the Stooges. Like he takes a girl home and he's playing the Stooges. It's great. He loves the Three Stooges.
And he also, and of course he has a reference for other classic comedy like Looney Tunes and stuff like that. So,
well, actually, I don't know which version you saw, Tiki, because there's two versions of Lethal Weapon. One's a director's cut. Now there are two scenes in director's cut. One of them is the Bugs Bunny suicide scene.
That's I did see this.
Okay, that's basically he's watching Bugs Bunny as he's contemplating suicide. And the other one, technically it might be three scenes. I'm focusing on that one, and the other one would be he brings the prostitute home so he can watch, just so he watch TV because he's really lonely. He's just basically missing his wife. He's kind of a twofold thing.
I did not see the prostitute scene.
Well, I mean, I've basically brings her home to get her off the street, and at the same time he's watching TV because basically he misses his wife. He hates being alone. Mm-hmm. It's like just showing the sadness of his life, and they kind of got rid of that version. It's a nice scene, but you understand why they. There's one other scene which I'll get to, I'll mention it at some point. But it's a really nice scene too. It's just you don't need it.
Anyways, so then I like I said, the only thing I really have to say about this is it's a great intro to Riggs in terms of like, oh, this is the guy we're going to be following throughout the movie. This is going to be fun, And
so you don't forget the best part of that scene.
What?
But shoot me.
Shoot me!
Remember, he's saying to them, this is such an awesome thing. I forgot how awesome this was, T. I completely forgot how awesome this was. It's been a while since I've seen it all the way through, and it's just a great bit where he's saying, he's yelling out, he's yelling to the cops. Basically, he has backup. This is part of his narcotic. He gets transferred from this unit, narcotics, to the homicide with Roger. That's basically why he's in this scene alone. Then later on, he's with Roger. He's saying, shoot him, as he has him at gunpoint. And he's jumping back and forth. One, to kind of wig the guy out so the guy doesn't know what to do. Right. One, doing it to psych the guy out. But secondly, he's also, again, either way, it works for Riggs. He's then whispering to him. He was then talking to him saying, shoot me, shoot him. The guy's freaking out and he headbutts him. Bam!
Yeah, good stuff. So, and then this is one of the more humanizing moments from Riggs, while also showing him as a total badass, is the getting the suicide jumper down safely in a very unconventional way. So, first of all, Dragon, I love kind of the urgency of this situation, and right beforehand, I love the little bit where Riggs is just kind of like, "Ooh, can we turn the sirens on?" He's like a little kid. He's like. And then Murtaugh's just like, yeah, we can turn the sirens on. Yay! So that's adorable. But then they get on the scene. It's very urgent. And Riggs just has such a calm demeanor about him, which, of course, goes against what we saw in his in the first scene we saw of him on the field.
This is the charm of Gibson in the role right here.
Which is great, Dragon, because it makes the character a very layered character, and you're kind of in the Danny Glover position of you don't really know what to make of this guy at this point. You know what I mean? But anyways, so I love how I just love everything about the way he approaches the jumper right here, where he's just like, oh man, I don't want to be up here either. It's are you kidding me? My head spins seeing this hype, and I'm gonna do it to talk to you because I want to see you get down safe. And then, meanwhile, of course, you've got Murtaugh just being like, don't go on the ledge, don't go on. Oh, he's on the ledge. He stepped on the ledge. So, just wonderful talking the guy down, just doing a very effective job at it. Let's see. I'm trying to think of some specific lines here. Dragon, this is why I'm kind of struggling to talk about this movie in general, is that it's so dense. But,
basically, he's like on the ledge, and he's like as the guy, and basically he's very devil may care about. Because again, either way, if Riggs fell off the roof, he'd be perfectly fine.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I have a line that I wanted to say. It's basically like
offers him a cigarette.
Well, yeah, he offered it, but I really like the moment where the guy's like, "It's not like I killed anybody," and Riggs is like, "Yeah, I know that, man. I know that. Come on, it's just you and me. It's like, I know you didn't kill nobody. That's not what this is about at all. He's just trying to be very level with him. And yeah, you're absolutely right. He offers him a cigarette, and I love the line of like, he says some defective like, "Hey, I tell you what, we'll be really
better
slow
die
with
of cancer than die that way."
Yeah, right. We'll be really slow with this, and you and me can both die of cancer up here. What do you say?
Yeah. And then, of course, it's kind of fun. I never thought this. I just pieced this together. We have a reference to the lighter earlier on with Joshua here. So now he's getting him with the lighter.
Yeah, right. And so then, of course, we get the handcuff trick, and he and this is great, Dragon, because
there's a movie mistake here. Did you notice it?
No, I didn't.
If you look closely, if you rewatch it, by mistake, there's a movie mistake here where they jump, the handcuffs break, and they hold hands to hide it. So like when they jump, and of course when they land, then the handcuffs are on. So they broke on the way down. Just the stunt guys, they broke the handcuffs when they jumped.
But yeah, just last thing I have to say about this scene is it's a great way to play with the audience in terms of what they're expecting out of Riggs, because
do you want to jump?
Right, it's like they see the first scene where he's obviously very unhinged, and then they see this scene where it's like at first it's like, oh, this guy's actually like really good at his job, and then he's like, do you want to jump? And it's like, well, okay, he did technically do the job, right, but at what cost? Okay, anyways, this is gonna go by really fast, Dragon. I just really love the moment where Murtaugh is interviewing the kid after the explosion, and he's getting kind of the ID on on who the guy was that set up the bomb and whatnot, so on and so forth. And Dragon, I'm sorry, it's just Danny Glover is just so charming here. He's just like, the kid's just like, oh, have you shot anyone with that gun? Have you killed anyone? Danny Glover's like, no, I don't kill anyone. Occasionally I might have to shoot him in the knee or so just to slow him down if necessary. But no, I don't. They're there to protect. Like I don't know. I literally don't have anything to say other than like, frickin' Danny Glover is so good with kids, and it's a great scene. It's a great kind of it really focuses on how much of a family man he is. Like there's a treasure trove of good family moments between Danny Glover and his actual family in this movie. But I really like this moment just because it's in the middle of the movie. It's kind of after a very dramatic thing takes place with the explosion of the house and everything like that. So it's nice to have a little bit of levity there. It also leads to some big reveals that get us into our third act. So I really like that moment a lot. It's a small moment, but it sticks out for me for Murtaugh's character. Okay, Dragon, what are your moments?
All right, my moments are, let's see this, chronological. Well, okay, I guess I'm going to start with when they meet, which is a nice, fun little scene. This again, I've seen this parodied so many times. Not so many. I've seen it parodied in really memorable times. Like, it's just some random guy, which basically there's a YouTube channel that, unfortunately, all their videos are a little wonky, so it's going to be like a little box in the corner if you watch it now for some reason. Don't know why, but if you watch it, there was this funny little promo to one of the events they did, which was Spider-Man and Batman. Parodying Lethal Weapon. So Batman was Mel Gibson, and Spider-Man is Danny Glover.
So Spider-Man like freaks out about Batman having a gun.
Basically, it's like Gordon. Gordon's in the scene too. He's the police
Oh
chief.
no.
It's really funny. He's like Gordon saying, "Yeah, we recovered this from the scene." He's holding the gun, and Spider-Man says, "Gun!" Runs to him, and then Batman flips him over, and he says, "Who's this? It's your new partner." What?
Yeah, it's great. It's a classic reveal.
Anyways, again, that's. Bear in mind, I spiced it up a little bit there with Batman and Spider-Man, but seriously, that's how it goes. It's really funny. Just like, Danny Glover's like, he's Murtaugh's in the seniors. He's kind of getting the facts on the case with Hunsucker's daughter while he's. I love this. Danny Glover does this so well in many of the movies. Just the way it's a really great comedic thing of like. He's distracted in the scene. You can see how the gears in his head are turning. Like he's like, yeah, keep talking, as he's like moving in the scene.
Aw.
And then of course, as he's watching, he's putting it together like a detective. He's putting together. Okay, Riggs has been he looks like a suspect. He's been brought in by the captain or someone. And then he pulls out a gun. Like, oh my god! He runs there and tries to disarm that. Riggs, his reflex actions. Okay, disarm and flip the guy.
Right,
Does.
yeah.
Basically, he disarms and like throws the guy to the ground, puts his foot on his neck, and that's like the perfect introduction to those two. Like, okay, these two guys aren't going to get off swimmingly at first. Like, he just like put his foot on his neck and just like says, "Who's this?" Your partner just like da da da. And of course, then we have the first like, "I'm getting too old for this." Yeah.
Which is essentially like the predecessor to, "I'm not even supposed to be here today."
Oh yeah.
Okay. Moment number 2.
Right, moment number 2. Oh god, I love this one. This one's so beautiful.
This one's kind of following mine, right?
Yes, this one's following her. So I tell you, when I think of Lethal Weapon, my mind always goes to this scene. This scene's just great. It's one of the best scenes in the entire film. It's the "Do you want to die" scene. So following the insane roof jump, because basically the ending of the roof jump is okay. They jump off, and the reason they don't die is they land on a giant air mattress pad thing. The thing they use to kind of save the jumpers, which works out. And this like Daniel's like, oh, it's like, basically, oh well, he didn't talk him down, so it means that you have to like get yelled at for like you have to. Your cop still has a job because they had reinflate the thing.
Right.
Bear in mind, they don't really go through that in the film. They just say, I assume that's why he's like, he still got him. They jumped. That's an insane solution to this problem. I'm supposed to talk him off the ledge. Point is, following that, I love how kinetic this scene is. I love how it just follows that one directly. Like
Totally.
Like Murtaugh just runs up to Riggs. He's kind of taking him, just trying to usher him off to the side here, so they get a private conversation. He doesn't care where. He's just so fuming. He throws him in like this department store or something. It says like everything must go sale. Like he's painting Christmassy on the window. He gets him in there, and
I love how he tries to slam the door, but he just like the door slams so hard that it just swings off again. Yeah. And he's like,
it's such a great improvised moment,
Right.
It's like Danny Glover plays angry so fantastically. Because one, it's like so realistically angry. Like, you're so amped up, you don't care.
Bagley Jr. levels of angry.
It's what?
Ed Bagley Jr. levels of angry.
Well, no, Ed Bagley Jr. It's like, but like Dad's mad at me, sort of angry. And that's like,
okay,
boy,
fine.
This is like entertaining angry. If like it's angry and that you relate to it. And also, it's like if you had perspective on you when you get angry, you'd laugh, and that's basically what you have here with Murtaugh.
Yeah, all right.
Ed Bagley Jr. is like your father or someone like a male figure. Is like really mad. You're like, oh no, oh god, I feel so horrible. No, but seriously, here though, just oh god, it's so beautiful. Just this, he's getting so angry, and it's the way. I'm trying not to linger on too much. The point is, it's just like this is shot so well. I love how it's just a simple set. It's like this one location. It's off to the side. All the stuff's going on back, and you don't even need the windows are so covered up. You don't even need to see the outside. It's like these two guys in this room, in the corner of this room with that door, and he's basically just asking. He's coming out asking because I should also mention real quick is that Murtaugh through the whole film, the reason he's been talking behind Riggs' back is kind of asking the other cops, oh, this guy's crazy. He's probably like he's an ex-veteran. He's trying to collect on disability, and he's trying to cheap out on the job. That's what the thoughts are in the police department. I think he's just trying to get like a psycho's pension, as they like to call it. Which I love they call it that, by the way. It's like a psycho's pension. So he's just asking right now, I need to know, like, is this an actor or are you actually crazy? Tell me, do you want to die? Just like, and just like, what kind of question is that? No, it's just then the way Danny Glover's like, he's like hopping mad, essentially. He's like, do you? He's just waving his arms hysterically, just like, dude, that's not the question. I'm not doing any justice, but just go with me. Do you want to die? He says, what do you want to say? What do you want me to say, man?
Yeah, and of course
Yeah, I dream
Gibson's
of eating a
actual
bullet.
yeah, his actual reaction to it kind of just turns the whole scene around into it goes from comedy to pathos just so brilliantly, Dragon.
Yeah, so believe me, as much as I'm hyping up, that's just the entertainment level. Then we get to the real
Right.
drama. This is the
Yeah,
reasons,
go
like
ahead.
lethal
Go ahead.
weapon. Again, I love it. There are various interpretations, like what you deem the lethal weapon. As you said, Tigger, earlier on, you could deem it like Riggs or Josh would be kind of the lethal weapons in question, like men who are lethal weapons in
Mhm.
themselves. Or you look at it very simply. Technically, the movie could boil down to this scene: is that one, it's looking at Riggs as the lethal weapon, but also the gun in the scene as the lethal weapon for Riggs.
That's true. That's true.
Is that this scene again epitomizes the film in many aspects of like to you, this moment will always stick in my mind when I think about the film boils down to this moment here where I use this, like I save a little hollow point bullet to do the job to make sure it goes through my head, and then he basically gives him a gun. He gives him Murtaugh gives him his gun. Oh, you really are crazy. You go and pull a bullet. Don't put it in your ear, else it might go through your brain or something. It might go through your ears or something. It's just hysterical. Again, in the midst of all this drama, but he says, "Yeah," I'm gonna puts it under his neck, and I love this the way Richard Donner, the way he directed the scene, gets me jazzed down my mind. Just the way this image will always stand in my mind. These three like images linked together. The hammer's clicking back, and basically it's like basically the little firing pin needs to be like hit, or like the back of the bullet needs to be hit essentially in the gun. And they look at each other's eyes. He looks at Riggs isn't blinking. Riggs like has that really wide-eyed crazy thing we've seen in the other two scenes of him doing crazy stuff. He's looking at him. It's Murtaugh's realization, oh my god, he's actually crazy, where he says, and then we get that great cut where Murtaugh, the last second, because the trigger's being pulled, it's getting closer and closer, he jams his hand there, and like in real life, this would really hurt you, like, ow! Just like, ouch, just like clamps to his hand to save Riggs' life. And he says, and just the way Dan Glover delivers this is like, oh my god, one of the best moments in there, when he says, you're not collecting a psycho's pension? You really are crazy. Just the realization in his voice. Oh, God. And then Riggs' his response is, you know what I am? I'm hungry. I'm going to get something to eat leaves. And his thing goes like, oh, God, I'm too old for that. It's, oh, beautiful.
Yeah, great.
That's the film right there. That's the moment.
All right.
Okay, the last one's going to go by real quick. It's kind of the I guess the payoff of that scene.
It is definitely the payoff of that for sure.
Really nice, and again, that's probably the big reason it's my other favorite. Basically, it boils down to these two scenes. It's that one, and it's this one as the follow-up, because basically, I don't think the film's as memorable without this ending. This is the ending of the film. Is like, Riggs goes to the door, he's talking to Rhiannon, he wants to give Murtaugh. Murtaugh doesn't come to the door, Riggs doesn't want to disturb the family thing, just, give this to your father, and he's just, well, it's a bullet. Just, he'll know what it means. And then, you think, okay, let's get it to end, which is still a classy ending, but then it gets even better. Murtaugh runs out and he asks Riggs that invites him in essentially, and
he says he has a great line. It's like, after all that shit we went through, you really think I'd let you just walk out of here without, or get something to the extent of like, you really think you'd let me eat that terrible turkey my wife's cooking all by myself?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, which is great. And then they have this. Then basically he invites him in the house. He asks like he can bring a friend for Christmas, which is the dog. He lets in the house, which is it's fun. It's really nice. Again, that's just the acceptance of like it's a wonderful resolution of again him giving Murtaugh that bullet symbolized he's with Murtaugh and with his family. They've given Riggs a reason to live, at least a reason not to seek out. He might still be reckless, but at the same time he's no longer wants to die. He no longer wants to kill himself specifically. Whether he's just going to still be crazy as usual, he has something to live for, and that being in these people's lives, and importantly, doing the job the most effective capacity, which is with Murtaugh. And then we have these two really classy bits. Again, this ties into the Christmas thing. We have like "I'll Be Home for Christmas" playing, and then the last image of the film is great. Just Murtaugh. He's adjusting the bulb on the last little the string Christmas light. There's one out, and you can see it from a great distance. I love it. You can see it from a great distance. There's one bulb out. He ties it. He says, I'm getting too old for this for one last time. He walks in. I'll be home for Christmas. Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Best.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a great one.
Okay. So
it's Riggs being accepted, regaining family. It's beautiful,
Yeah. Okay, so let's get to some pros and cons. Dragon, we're running dangerously low on time here. So
we know cons is going to go by real fast. So pros, we just list these off.
I have two cons, and both of them are like not the movie's fault whatsoever. All right. Con number one, I feel like because so much has come after this.
Don't say it's the nice guys. Don't say it's the nice guys.
No, I'm just saying because so much has come after this, and because this kind of set the standard for a buddy cop movie, even though it's wonderful and it's terrific, I feel like if someone was watching this without context, they might look at it and think like, well, this is good, but it's not as good as, maybe a certain other Shane Black movie that came out in 2016. But con number 2, Dragon, this is like the one actual nitpick I can give it. Yeah, the saxophone, like, I get what they're trying to do. It's pretty good. It's pretty atmospheric. At times, I feel like it dates the movie just a little bit. Just a little bit with the sax.
Well, it's kind of funny. Let me go through my cons. And a lot of these, for the majority of these, let me make it very clear. All of these are easily passable. They're nothing
like I said, the sax is like totally passable. It's just, it maybe feels like just a little bit like, oh yeah, I'm totally watching a movie from the 80s when all that sax is there.
That's the thing. Here's the thing. I love this is going to be in pros too, but I'm going to get through cons because it's going to go by a lot faster. One of my pros is the Michael Kamen score. The score is amazing. The saxophone music sounds great. However, the implementation of it through the film does sound very 80s-esque.
Yeah.
It's less the music, it's more the implementation because it kind of comes all over the place in the film, which is basically, again, it's not a bad thing. It just kind of dates the film.
Yeah, I hear you.
Again, it's not even a con. None of these are negative cons, but again, all of these are easily passable. Okay, let's see. The last Riggs and Joshua, the Riggs and Joshua fight, it's a little over the top. It's a little like, okay, we're kind of exited the realm of reality, but, it's awesome, so why question? It's in the last. Again, it's kind of the Jaws kind of Toy Story commentary thing I keep bringing up. Like, we don't care. We've won the audience over. It's fine. It's kind of crazy. It's raining. Like he's allowing this big old kind of fight in this lawn. I mean, who cares? It's awesome.
Another thing that you absolutely cannot fault this movie on at all, but just has to be brought up, is the fact that the action just gets significantly better as the series goes on, so I've heard, which is understandable since this is the first one. And yeah, I gotta say, Dragon, in spite of, like, you're right, there are some really good action moments, I don't think the action in general of this movie is that terribly great. It's not bad. It's just not terribly stand out. There's not like any real huge set pieces or anything.
And again, that's more over time. That gets even better over time.
Sure.
Let's see. So the torture scene is brutal, but is it necessary? Probably not in the grand scheme. Maybe it's brutal, and you understand it's like they're to kind of put our heroes through their paces, but still, I mean, if you really look at it, it's kind of not.
I think it works a lot better than Kick-Ass.
Well, let's not split hairs over other movies.
I'm sorry.
Let's see. This is gonna sound really weird, but I will say this: we didn't need the bits of the brief nudity. We didn't need that.
Oh, I agree.
Didn't need it. Last thing, sniper scene there was a deleted. Basically, this scene was really cool. It's kind of a shame it was out. That's all I wanted to mention real quick. Is that there was an awesome sniper scene. Basically, Riggs. There's a sniper at a school who's shooting up a school from a distance, and basically it's on a playground. Basically, the cops show up and like it's a dire situation, and Riggs, he walks up and says, what are you? This is like an early, basically, I think it was like an alternative or an additional introduction of like Riggs, what a day of Riggs would be like. So he just kind of walks up to this sniper shooting at a playground. Everyone's like hit the deck and they're all kind of hidden, and he just walks out, he's just standing there, and the sniper keeps missing because he's waiting for him to hit him. And he says, you're like, what are you? Basically, he takes down a guy who's shooting children, which is pretty fulfilling. Like, yeah, Riggs taking down a guy who's shooting kids. It's kind of a shame that left that film, but absolutely what was needed to be cut. So, yeah, that's one of my something really positive. So, again, barely even a con itself. Okay, real quick, I'm going to fire through the positives here. Okay, chemistry of Gibson and Glover is fantastic. It's the biggest pro of the film.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, definitely.
Also, we should also amend one of our big mistakes I kind of noticed we make with the series. It's called Naughty and Nice, not Pros and Cons. I just now noticed it.
Oh, God. Okay, fair enough.
What is, we're in the nice now. We just got through the naughty. We're now going to the nice. So, chemistry of Gibson Glover is great. The action's inventive. It gets better over time. But it's still inventive here. Again, we go through different locations. Again, kind of crashing through the house is really cool.
Mm.
Let's see. Riggs, basically Riggs is kind of, it's called the trope term this is called a maverick character. Riggs is a maverick character, which I just equated when I saw it like to a Batman-esque moment. So basically Riggs gets tons of Batman, like he's the most cool guy in the room that can do anything sort of moments.
Right.
I say he is Batman. You know, very different. He kills people, so he's not Batman. Well, at least he shouldn't be Batman.
Hmm.
But you got to remember, at the time, he was really Gibson was huge because of this movie. At the time, people were actually looking to him for Batman.
Oh, I could see it. I could imagine people were probably pissed when he didn't get cast as Batman.
You got to remember, this is like close to when A&I's in the works. When like Keaton's chosen, it's like, hey, well, why don't you get like other action stars like Bruce Willis or like them? And
Uh-huh.
let's see. Here's the whole suicidal hero angle is really interesting with Riggs. You know, the whole all Riggs, just Riggs as Maverick, kind of doing kind of like a Riggs can do anything type character is really cool. Seeing that in the film, it always gives people a smile on their face, like, oh man, this guy's awesome. The family stuff with Murtaugh, it's a big plus.
Sure, sure.
The original, it's the original buddy cop film, which again, that's a huge credit to the film.
Yeah, like I said, in the if you don't have the proper context, I could see that as a con.
And
If you have the proper context for it.
Dialogue's great. It's got a strong structure of events. You know, we got a really kind of we got a strong structure of events. Again, we kind of see Riggs and Murtaugh individually, and you kind of see how they go about their days before we meet them. Again, it's kind of like the story structure. Like, okay, we see that these two guys meet each other. Again, we have like it all comes full circle in a way, in a nice roundabout way. The Donner, I still get a kick out of just how Donner like it is. It's just the Donner look and feel of it all. Just feel it's hard to describe. It just feels so Richard Donner-esque. I get a good kick out of that.
Mm-hmm.
The Kamen score, as I mentioned, is great. It's all the pros. It's all the nice I got.
Cool. And we need to wrap this up. So, how does it stack up as a Christmas special, Dragon?
I think the Christmas stuff complements the film very well, and really makes the ending. So yes, I do think it holds up.
It's never overbearing. Like, you're never, you know what I mean? Like, you're never, like, hit over the head like, hey, guys, it's Christmas, oh my god, yeah! You know, it's nice that it's less in the background than Die Hard. It has just enough to do with the plot to actually be relevant to the actual plot, but I don't know, it definitely does hold up. I got to admit, Dragon, not quite as much Christmas as I was hoping for in this one. But maybe that's for the better, like I said, because it doesn't go over the top and hits you over the head with the fact that it's Christmas. It's just kind of there. Also, Dragon, do we have any, just check it because we're about to wrap things up, do we have any use for the note that you wanted me to get? Because I have that.
Well, yeah, I was about to mention the segue to it.
Okay. I'm sorry. I'm just like, wait a minute, we've got the whole podcast and I haven't brought that up yet, so.
It was saving for this particular segment.
Okay, perfect.
So again, we have a lot of really good Christmas stuff. I would say we do have some. We have more Christmas reliant stuff than we do in Die Hard. Die Hard is pretty much just a Christmas party going on. We really kind of forget about that when the movie kicks in. So here, we the Christmas tree. A lot, of course, is we kind of talked about it already. Points it's kind of like snow. It's about snow of a different variety. We have Christmas.
I like how the
trees.
guy offers him like the biggest Christmas tree on the farm. Just as like
I thought that was really that's a good pleasantry. That's a good pleasantry right there.
Yeah, I think Walter White could learn a thing or two about that. About like just smooth.
Yeah, he's got to learn from the cocaine dealers.
Oh God.
Let's see. So the Christmas background, of course, during the big scenes, as Black likes to do, as Shane Black likes to do. You know, it does. I think it does help these scenes, and of course, the Christmas trap for Joshua is awesome. And what is on that tree? What is that? What does it say? Well, basically, let me.
I love how Joshua's like going around the house with like Jack Nicholson Joker, just tearing everything apart. And then he gets to the tree and he sees a note. And at first he's like, "Oh, this will be good. This will be good. I wonder what it says." And the note reads, and I quote, "Dear bad guys, no one here but us cops. Sorry, the good guys or the nice guys. I'm sorry. I apologize." But no, you're right, Dragon. It's a great moment. Then of course the cop car comes bursting through the wall. Great moment.
It's the two things I love really about that is builds to that. I love that various Christmas movies are playing. I forget if it's Christmas Carols and Wonderful Life that's playing. Do you remember? It's black and white. It's
I'm pretty sure it's a Wonderful Life.
Right. So like, if It's a Wonderful Life is playing, and he's like really, you can tell it's a trap, and like, oh boy, what they're trying to do is they're trying to hit him with the car. That's why they have that note there on that tree. They just missed him.
Exactly.
They just missed him with that, and he's like, yeah, it's such a Riggs idea of like, hey, let's go in there, let's surprise him. Let's crash a car through the living room. If you're gonna have a Christmas movie, again, let's crash the car into the Christmas tree. That's an awesome way of having. So my point is, like, to round out the whole thing here is that I think it all these little touches makes the Christmas thing stand out more than makes it stand out a little bit more without it getting in the way.
Yeah, definitely. Really quick, Dragon, just a fun fact. The Looney Tunes thing that Riggs is watching in the suicide sequence, the attempted suicide sequence, is actually the Looney Tunes equivalent to the Christmas Carol with Yosemite Sam and Scrooge.
Interesting.
And so maybe you could make the leap that maybe, Riggs, in a way, is kind of like, well, shoot. I don't know.
I do want to make this. I do want to make this comparison. I do love with those holiday touches. Again, the holiday fits the theme and the mission of the film. That's why it really complements the film. It's not just like kind of random thrown there again. So that's Shane Black's trying to do, is trying to show like the holidays are really kind of making it pop. But also really ties in. Again, we're all around our families around Christmas time. We're in kind of a happier mood, and that's why the end of the film with that whole Christmas thing, it has to be Riggs at Christmas, or else the film ending loses a little bit of effectiveness in a way.
Yeah, definitely.
So final thoughts.
Like I said, I kind of wish that I would have gotten to this franchise earlier because I didn't even know that it was a comedy franchise because I'm ignorant. But no, really, really good movie. Like I said, I definitely need to watch it more times because I've seen The Nice Guys 4 times and I've seen this 2 times. So, Shane Black movies are very layered like that, Dragon. It's like like the core premise of it is very simple. Just the buddy cop dynamic, but really the Shane Black movies, and especially with some of the intricate villain plots and stuff like that, they are very rewatchable movies and movies that you really should watch more than once. So Lethal Weapon, what can I say about it? It set the standard. It's a great fun, it's kind of like the ultimate dad movie to watch at Christmas time because, like you said, unlike Die Hard, it kind of takes the Christmas elements and weeds its way all the way through the movie. So a good, very, very good selection to kick things off with I Can't Believe It's Christmas. And again, we have a mystery middle thing with I Can't Believe It's Christmas, and we'll be talking about Iron Man 3 towards the end of the month. All right, Dragon, any final thoughts on your end?
Yes. So real quick. So basically, let me sum it up, ladies. As a fan of a good cop, of good cop characters, of course, Jim Gordon, this film, I think, because many people make the argument with this or Die Hard that really it's not really very realistic in now cops work. Not very realistic in that, again, like Riggs and Murtaugh, again, they break a lot of rules, and it's John McClane really it's a guy in an action scene. But here's what I like. Here's why they're good cop films. Mainly this one. I'm not going to spend time with Die Hard because we can do that next year. But this film, it shows the dedication and the personal lives of cops, and that's why it's kind of regarded as a good cop film. It shows that very well, in a very not only a cinematic way, but it shows it very well. And because it's one of my go-tos for cop films in terms of just how this film is.
Again, The Nice Guys. I'm sorry, you need to see that movie.
And you need to see the rest of Lethal Weapon movies, huh?
I'll watch the rest of Lethal Weapon movies if you watch The Nice Guys.
Don't proposition me like that.
I will always proposition you, sir. Anyways.
Anyway, this is one of the most, again, for me at least, one of the definitive buddy cop films. A lot of people might go 40 hours, I'm going to go this. Die Hard, in terms of Die Hard versus Lethal Weapon, again, they both have great strength, and both have great strength in kind of their taste-related films. Like, again, I think what it boils down to is, I bring that because there's always a comparison between Die Hard and Lethal Weapon as like the best cop film and the best cop franchise because they both have like various films. It boils down to this for me. So Die Hard has.
I would definitely say Lethal Weapon has better side characters, if anything.
Yes, and I think it boils down to this in the comparisons. That when people say which one's better, I'm not going to say everyone's entitled to their own opinion. It kind of boils down to this. Die Hard has 1.5 bad films. Lethal Weapon has one debatable film, and it's at the very end. It's debatable in that they're wrapping things up, and it's kind of obvious with the fourth. The fourth one's up in the air of that one might be the deal breaker. It's not bad, though. It's just like, well, not as good as the other ones.
Sure.
We have a new show of Lethal Weapon on today that captures the fun of the first films. When I heard it announced, I thought it was going to be a terrible idea. Ended up being, man, this is really it's a feel good show. I mean, it's
So
not.
essentially, it's like the anti-Rush Hour.
Yes, very much so. It's basically what if
Good to
Rush
know.
Hour actually? Basically, what if it was still? What if the Rush Hour show was entertaining and not just a desperate cash grab?
Sure.
In this case, again, we have here we have a new show features it captures the fun of the films. It's different, but it captures the spirit of the films. It's a test, which that in itself is a Miranda with last thing. It's a testament to the love people have for Lethal Weapon and the love I've discovered for that, and I can agree with it. Lethal Weapon's it's a good time show, films. It's all fun. It's such a good premise. Again, it's kind of in the histories of buddy cop films, and it's a good watch, folks. Watch it. Watch the whole franchise. Again, it's Richard Donner goodness mixed with Shane Black clever writing, and just it's permeated the culture. Give it a watch, especially around the holidays, because why not?
All right, take us out, Chief.
Well, kids, time to dash away all. But as we wave goodbye, don't you cry. We'll be back again next time.
For even more seasonal shenanigans.
La 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 la.
Hashtag lethal Neeson.